Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Maverick Mystic Arts Podcast. I'm Nathan Szredni, and I'm joined today with one of my best buddies on planet Earth. This guy is super cool and has been exploring in sort of the true essence of an occultist or a mystic for many years, multiple decades. And one thing I love about this guy is his openness to exploration, the openness of mind, and how it just spirals through modality after modality after modality. He is a TCM practitioner, traditional Chinese medicine, or is it could be doctor. We'll get that one sorted out in a second here. A doctor of Chinese medicine, as well as an avid meditator and energy explorer and just cosmic detective. So let me introduce you to Dr. Christos Illiopoulos.
Hi Nathan.
Hello,
Good to
Christos.
see you again.
You too, my friend. Welcome to
How are
the
you?
show. Very
Where
good.
are you now?
I'm in Vancouver Island in Sook, BC, which is the southern
Awesome.
part of Vancouver Island, and we're moving into fall here, so it's getting a little colder and a little more wet,
Okay.
but it's beautiful. Where are you?
I am in Mykonos Island in Greece.
Paradise.
So it's getting cooler too, but it's Greece. It's okay. It's sunny, not so wet. It's actually like Mykonos is very dry.
And windy, if I recall.
And very windy.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I thought, man, because we actually recorded, for those of you watching this, we recorded a whole episode that didn't record any of Christos's voice, so we're doing a round 2 for us, and this will be round 1 for you guys. I thought we might start today with a little bit of an exploration on meditation and sensory perception as that relates to beginning a practice in Chinese medicine, because this was something that sets you apart from the vast majority of any esoteric healers I meet, which is you, prior to beginning your study of medicine, you'd spent almost 6 months at that point in silent retreat. You'd done 12 Vipassana retreats at the time.
15.
15.
Then. Back then, yes.
Which is a lot of days to be in silent meditation. So I thought we might start with this sensory perception, this perception of mind, body, and energy, and what it's like having that going into a healing type practice.
I think it was really important, especially for the beginning, because my senses became very sensitive, and also I could feel more when I was touching someone else, when he or she was speaking to me, and I could feel the energy more. And at the same time, during my meditation sessions, like Vipassana, you are playing with awareness. So sometimes, let's say you are in pain and you concentrate your awareness inside the pain, and the pain basically dissolves or changes. So you feel a lot of changes happening because you are concentrated and aware. And the difference was that when I went to my mentor, John Blazevich, and he was explaining what TCM is, or at least what acupuncture is, because at the beginning I wanted to study acupuncture, and then it turned out that I studied the whole 5 years. was basically that the needle is increasing awareness at the point that you put it. So it was kind of like in my mind that acupuncture is a passive meditation. So you don't have to meditate and concentrate, be concentrated, and go all these layers of concentration. But you can just lie down. As a practitioner, an acupuncturist can put some points on you, and you can experience the tranquility, the relaxation, or the changing of the sensations.
So I like how you put it with passive meditation, or almost like when, for example, when you're receiving transmission, doing like advanced meditative practices with a teacher who's skilled in transmission, it's almost like you are being meditated through the skill of the teacher. And it's interesting to like look at acupuncture as being meditated uh, by somebody else.
It is like it basically increases awareness. Like if the needling is well, you can feel the energy running through your body. You can experience the changing of intense sensation like pain. So you have a lot of pain in your shoulder, and they put some needles, and then you see like it changes. It becomes heaviness. It becomes numbness, or I feel like some pulsing in inside, outside. So that, like in my mind, like basically, I thought that studying acupuncture was the next level of meditation in a way, or like that, like I will learn something for that has to do with awareness, and it has to do a lot with awareness. Basically, it's 50% awareness, and 50% we can say is applied Taoism.
50% is awareness. So what does that mean from the perspective of someone being needled, of the patient? And also what does that mean in relation to like the doctor who's doing the needling, right? So like what does that mean? Awareness.
It means that like in TCM, we don't have machines, we don't have anything. The only thing that we have to diagnose you is our senses and our minds. So I use like vision to see your color, this, that, your movements, everything. I will use my ears to hear your voice, how quick, from where it's coming, etc. Like in a way, just by hearing your voice, I can, I know if your nose is stuck, how's your lungs, etc. We use a lot of touching, so I can touch around your body to see where is stiff, where is weak, where is a little bit like different, let's say. And also, the thing that most people don't understand, I will take your pulses. So I will take your pulses, and from your pulses, from very sensitive things, just like how strong it is, how deep it is, how the width, the length, and the different kinds of pulsation, I will I will know how the blood and the energy in all 12 meridians inside your body is flowing or not flowing.
From the pulse. I've had a weird
That's
experience.
from
Maybe I'll share with you, because I mean, it's understandable to most of us, even if we have like very, very westernized minds, that, okay, maybe you could get information from a pulse. Maybe it'll tell you about heart rate variability or ins and outs of blood pressure, etc. However, I mean, I had someone test my pulse, this woman, and after about 15 minutes, she's silent. She looks up at me and she goes, "Nathan, are you angry with your mother?" And it was like, "Say what now?" And it's, so there goes like 6 years of your life as you unwind that rabbit hole. But this pulse diagnosis can, because it's looking through, like you said, the channel system, and that channel system, I mean, we should talk more about that too, because it's not just confined to the body itself or the tissue itself. Like a lot of people look at it like radio waves, signals coming in and out that reticulate through the channel system. Um, that there's so much information in there. So I guess, how is it that by feeling someone's pulse, you could determine these things which we'd think would be impossible without me telling somebody, especially things that
So,
I don't even know, right?
so basically, we have 12 meridians in our bodies. So there are 3 points, here, 3 points, one, two, three, in each of your wrists. So we have, and also we have two levels, the high level and the deep level. So from these 6 points and the two depths, we can understand the 12 meridians. How? So basically, how fast your heart rate is just one variable. We have so many variables. So one variable is like where we find the pulse, how strong. So maybe at the high level, let's say it's very weak. So that means you have weak energy at that meridian. And when I press, it's very strong. That means a lot of blood, the lowest parts of your body, blood is kind of like stuck. It's not flowing, and could be like one of the reasons that your energy is low. So because the energy is low, the blood gets stuck. So also you can feel, let's say, a pulse could be like a little bit wavy. If it is a lot, if it's wavy, we say that you have more water in your system. If it is very thin, means, let's say, your blood is not so strong. So there are kind of like 12 variables that we touch: how strong, how stiff, how watery, how how empty the pulse is. And according to what we find, we can see the heat inside your body, the energy, the quantity and the quality of the blood, the what else? The cold, the stagnations, and that's the qualities that we see for each one of the meridians. So let's say, if I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have a stuck liver meridian and you have a weak lung. There is a big possibility, because your breathing pattern is weak or you are holding your breath, your energy is not flowing, and that stresses up your liver and causes blood stagnation in your body. And your tendons are getting stiff, and you have stiffness, and you have pains that go here, go there, disappear, appear, etc. I hope I didn't complicate things.
Not pretty straightforward, I think. You know,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, Like you mentioned, 50% awareness, and so I think it's pretty apparent how the deep meditative, psycho-emotional, energetic, and physiological awareness from meditation would enhance your skills, especially with diagnostics and with healing. If we reverse it, since you started doing this doctor thing, how has
Okay.
that influenced the meditation? Because the meditation came first in your life before you started exploring the deep doctoral sides of healing. How did healing, becoming a healer, influence your meditation?
So I think one influence is that I was doing Vipassana meditation mostly. So Vipassana is basically being aware of your senses, and for different kinds of Vipassana, also being aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your surroundings, etc. Just being aware of what it is. You don't try to change things. You accept your what you see and what you experience and what you are aware of. That's it. You don't try to change it. So I will describe this type of meditation as yin type of meditation. So it's more solid in a way, doesn't have a lot of movement. So you are just accepting things as they are. If you see a table, you say that's a table. You don't try to change it. It basically changes through awareness. The change that came after TCM is because it is applied Taoism, so we are using yin and yang. Uh, I was trying to find, I experimented also with yang elements. So trying to feel like energy, let's say, outside my body. I will try to concentrate more on specific sensations like heat. Uh, and also, I was experimenting a lot with Qi Gong, that it is a part of TCM. A part of traditional Chinese medicine is also Qigong. There is medical Qigong, and I think also Tai Chi is a part of TCM.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like I think like TCM includes also the martial arts,
right.
and basically by experimenting with Qigong, basically trying to move energy, try to change reality, let's say, become stronger, like warmer, etc. I found that the utility also of yang type of meditation.
Right. I mean, those are pretty big contrasts, right? In terms of schools of thought when it comes to meditation. You get the practicers and the styles, whatever, who everything is, that passive type of approach, slightly different from passive meditation of somebody else doing it at you, or to
Okay,
you, or
yes,
with
yes.
you. But these are the two approaches. One is you do a thing, you focus like samadhi of the mind onto something, some object. You find that union through object and observer merge. And that might be with a particular bandwidth of awareness of, say, that yang energy in relation to heat or in relation to really that you could insert anything, a type of joy, happiness, any type of meta. You tune in to say gratitude, for example, and then you focus on that. And because that's where the awareness is, that thing will start to grow. If we can keep our focus narrowed enough then the energy goes there and it acts as fuel, right? To build, say, in this example, gratitude. In contrast to observing the gratitude and watching it build or disappear of its own accord. And these two approaches I found is like they're very different, even though they sound kind of similar. In both, you're focusing, but you're not focusing. You're aware of one. So where I'm going with this is, as you started exploring this yang side of meditation, actually trying to make a thing happen that might help your life, you
Okay.
were continuing to go back to do these Vipassana retreats. Um, what did you notice as a difference in contrast between, let's say, your psychology as you were working this yang style and how you used to be, how you were relating to the world and the practice now, and how you used to when you were just doing the passive approach? Because sometimes you can get some very interesting themes of psychological and emotional development or stagnation when you're just doing the passive approach, or if you're just doing an active approach. What was the difference you noticed in yourself, you know, further back in time and then at that current present?
The, every time I was going up after my third or fourth Vipassana, I was always experimenting a little bit. So it's not that I was doing, let's say, the 15 Vipassana retreats that I've done. It's not that I'm doing exactly what I was doing the first retreat or the second. I'm always experimenting with something. So I have also the changes of changing my awareness. So let's say the first 5 retreats, I was concentrating on body sensations. So there were like a lot, exactly how Vipassana is taught. But after that, I switched a little bit the following 5 retreats. I was experimenting, let's say, doing 10 days of Anapana, just being aware of my breathing without, let's say, being aware of my body. Then there were like sometimes I was just being aware of my mind. So I will spend a whole retreat just concentrating on my mind, what I was thinking, just accepting what I was thinking, concentrating on mind, and see what's happening. And also, my last 5 retreats, I was concentrating on emotion. What's my emotion time to time? Like how do I feel right now? How do I feel right now? Again and again, I was asking this question and just accepting the emotions that I had at the time. So the change is the one is more accepting. Like the first thing is kind of like the Vipassana gives you the awareness and basically gives you a lot of information of where you are. And the yang type of meditations give you more information of where you want to go. So what happened to me is when I was doing the yang type of meditations, I said like, oh my God, there is a possibility I wasted my time with awareness. I could spend my time getting what I want. But what I realized was that Vipassana was very safe for me because I think you should start with yin practice, because wherever you want to go, you need to know where you are. It's very safe. But if you are practicing a lot of yang type of meditations, you lose the earthing. At some point, there is a big chance that you will lose your center. So after a while, I realized that it is better to combine them. So, because just being aware of where you are, it's good, but at some point, it's not fun.
So I want to
So,
push into this a little
so
bit, man, because
yes,
there can
perfect.
be a type of like I noticed when I was doing a lot of the awareness based approach. You're essentially stepping back. You're cultivating this mindfulness, and every time a new layer of your identity breaks away, or we could say your attachment to an old layer of identity breaks away, it cracks off. Suddenly, you're aware of more. And then more and more and more and more. And I noticed that there's almost like a robot. Like you almost become a bit of a robot, lifeless, emotionless, sort of devoid of the not just the act of engaging with life, but also the capacity to connect with life and to actually meet life head on and merge and play. The ability itself starts to erode. It starts to dissolve away. Um,
I agree.
and it's something that I see in a lot of the types of practitioners who obsess over the mindfulness breaking away part of the path is this dissociation, we could say, because you hear a lot in Buddhism, like, okay, detachment. We need to detach from our feelings, detach from our mind. And that's great so we can actually see who and what we are and then choose to uh, build a better version of that or surrender to a better version of that. But in the absence of that forward path to changing, we end up very, very commonly just deteriorating our humanity almost. So I was wondering what your experience with that is, and I mean you're a doctor as well, and I'm sure you've treated people who I mean including yourself and myself who've gone off the deep end in the awareness side of meditative practices. There's I'm sure types of common pathologies that start to arise. Um, so, like, what's your experience of that as a practitioner, and also, as a doctor?
Um, I don't have like I didn't have a lot of people that were like aggressive in a way, like doing a lot of vipassana
Aggressively
seminars. Like I
passive.
haven't, yeah, like kind of like aggressive with like doing a lot. And yeah, like I've done like 10, 20, 30. But when I was going at the seminars and I was seeing a lot of vipassana meditators, old students, I could see this kind of like there is an attitude and kind of like very calm and very passive and very weak. Like I will say it like that. Instead of some people that they were doing more yang type of meditation, that they were like more energetic, more enthusiastic about what they're doing, but at the same time they were kind of like upset when things were not working. Instead of like in Vipassana, there was no upset. It's kind of like there is no extremes in Vipassana. It's kind of like the basically is more balanced and more going towards zero and emptying yourself instead of yang type of meditations that they go to the extremes. You basically want to break your limits, go become bigger, stronger, faster, and I think their end goal is infinity. So in a way, yin type of meditations and yang type of meditations, the yin types are more Buddhism, and their end goal is emptiness in a way. And the yang type of meditation are more Taoistic, and their goal is infinity. Even if we go a little bit like further, the goal of Buddhism is basically empty yourself from karma. So when you die, you are not born again. So to break the cycle of life and rebirth, life, death, and rebirthing. In Taoism, the goal is to be immortal and enjoy, stay here, be immortal, ideally to infinity.
Mm. I mean, it's a funny contrast. Um, when you're exploring the, let's say, the immortality side, it's funny, like immortality to infinity. But then also on the Buddhistic side, you have the alleviation of karma and not being reborn, which is essentially another version of touching infinity. You resonate with a light body long enough, and then you don't have to engage in the denser physical side. Enough of the like mind substance has equalized with the light, and so then at death you kind of get at least theoretically. So we have this awareness-based side falling into infinity through emptiness, and this cultivation side ascending to infinity through immortality, which leads us to an interesting dynamic, which then will splat into itself and explode again. So this kind of brings me into another side of this, because when we're doing a lot of this awareness work, it's, we start to notice a lot of the like health discomforts that might be present. And those might exist in the mind, exist psycho-emotionally, and obviously physically. And as the awareness builds, we start, this is a little this, that, the other thing. And our whole body becomes this buffet of pain and illness, and our whole emotional landscape becomes another buffet of, just like pathological density, and our whole mindscape becomes another buffet of like, oh my God. And we start to recognize all of the aspects of ourselves which are not in union with, say, light, right? All of these parts of us
Okay.
which are, a dispersion. So through awareness, we can perceive and come to start uncovering all of these potential health issues. Like myself, you've had, your fair share of tinkering around with health issues. What and how did you start relating the exploration of awareness and falling into infinity and immortality to infinity? How did you start playing with these in relation to health? Because it is a rabbit hole, if there ever was one. How did you initially begin exploring this in relation to health?
You mean with TCM or with my health or
With
for
your
health in
health
general?
from a personal standpoint, because we're getting into the nitty-gritty of perception of the body, perception of emotions and energy, perception of the mind. And it's very easy when we start feeling these pains and things that the awareness will dive into the pain, right? And
Okay.
maybe you get some dissolution of it, but more and more commonly is we start to identify with the pain when it's an omnipresent thing, when it's all the time, there's pain and discomfort and this and that. We start to subconsciously go, oh, well, this is just me now. So we start feeding that with energy, right? And then we start exploring, like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Maybe this practice, that practice, the other practice. When you started noticing that, there was all of this health health issues going on, uh, how did you explore it from the perspective of the practicer, the meditator, and then of course the healer as well?
I just recognized that basically the two practices are complementary. So basically, if you're doing the one or the other, like uh, at the end of the road, you will reach a limitation. So basically, I realized that if I'm doing just awareness and yin practices, at some point I am aware, I am aware, I have all the information, I am calmer, empty, chill, I don't have any pain, and then it gets to stiffness. So I realized that basically I have to be also aware of where I am. Kind of like at the beginning of a meditation, of course, you were thinking things, you got some energy from outside, you were off balance, you had some problems, you were watching your cell phone, etc. So you had a lot of input. You are full, okay? Even if you can be connected with light, let's say, you cannot absorb 100% because you are filled with so many information that are not harmonious. So at that point that you see that you are agitated, it's good to do like a yin practice and you empty yourself, you are calm. At the beginning, you wanted to move, but now you want to stand still. And then when you reach a moment that you see that the stiffness doesn't comes and goes, it stays, or kind of like the mind is empty and it's kind of like bored. The emotion is not so joyful. Then you have to switch to a yang type of meditation. That could be like anything, like kind of like playing with light, absorbing light, um, trying to be aware of things that are outside of your body. Try to connect with elements, the fire, the water, the air. So, and again, as you are doing all these things and you feel the difference and it's more enthusiastic and it's more joyful, at some point you will feel that you are losing your center in a way. I think at that point, from my point of view or my experience, again, you reach your limitation with yang meditation at the time, and you have to switch again to yin type. So, in my experience, I am playing with this, kind of like I am accepting that there is some time that you have to practice yin meditation and sometimes like yang meditation, and sometimes combine them both. There is a time, to wake up and move, and there is a time to sleep.
Right. I think that's like a really important thing is we start bouncing these. Then there's like another stepping back that occurs within that, right? So essentially at that point we're doing yin meditation, and then and now we're doing yang meditation. And we start to like it's like trying to poke, a leaf on water or something, or poke a fish or whatever. Like you reach in, you go to poke it, but like the water moves, the fish moves before your hand even gets there. And okay, I'm gonna do this, gonna do this, gonna do this, gonna do this, and we start hitting this thing from a million different angles. And sometimes it's like, boom, okay, that worked great. And then we keep doing the thing, whatever it is, and then it stops working. And we go, oh, woe is me. The thing that works doesn't work. and then things start degrading again. Or this is a common thing where somebody asks for some advice and you go, oh, well, what if you try this thing? And for this person, it works like 99%. They're 99% better. Everything's amazing. That was the only thing they need. But then, to me or to you, that thing helps 0.05%. So we start accumulating all of these different tools, which can be very valuable. However, there is a point. I know I reached it, and from our discussions in private, like you certainly reached this point as well, where we couldn't do another thing. There wasn't another thing we could do that was working. And so there's something on the other side of this doing, which is different from passiveness or giving up or awareness, which seems to fall under the words of either surrender or prayer. And this is where we get this really interesting marriage between physiological health, emotional health, psychological health, the meditative skills and all of the things that we're doing or not doing, and then the sacred side of the spiritual practice on the other side of all the doings, this surrender to or unification with something far beyond ourselves, this giving up of sorts. But it's not a giving up. It's not a collapse or an emptying of the tank, so to speak. It's a tapping that tank to something that will alter a type of information, intelligence, energy that will alter the tank itself, alter the shape of it, fill it with all different kinds of fuel, pass stuff through it, and essentially merge the tank with whatever that thing is, to keep using the same metaphor.
Sounds more exciting.
It's so exciting.
Boom.
Boom. So sledgehammer.
You solved it.
Sledgehammer, the bomb drops of spiritual prayer and surrender. And so from this perspective, this is where I've found the greatest benefits to my own health as well, because that thing inside us that's going, hey, like, try this, try that, try the other thing, that's often like the one of the big issues in and of itself, the big blockages. So the only way to move beyond that is without sublimating ourselves to another human ego, is to surrender to some type of higher something. And I wanted to ask, like, if you remember the first moment where you did that, where you managed to do that, or where that fell out of the sky and hit you in the head. Do you remember?
The prayer thing.
Yeah.
I remember. Actually, like it was a very breakthrough moment for me personally. So basically, let's say, except meditation, I was doing. I've studied hypnotherapy and psychotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming. So there are some exercises basically that you go back in time, you visit yourself as a kid, etc., etc. So I remember that in a way I found the main source of how do you say, of sorrow, of non-happiness, of all that stuff. Like, no, I found the source. And the source was kind of like a part of my childhood. I created a version of me, let's say, that basically did some things in the past that he was not so proud. And he had the maximum, let's say, guilt and how you say, like, when uh, let's say the guilt. Okay, so kind of like I found my part of self that had the maximum guilt for things that he has done. So in my meditations, young type of meditations and visualizations, I realized that that kid was kind of like hidden, like kind of like 10 floors down inside the earth in some kind of like dark rooms. And it's kind of like I didn't, it was kind of like a sentence, like a prison sentence. And the reason that I put him there was because I didn't want to see him, being aware of him. And also, it was a punishment for what he has done. So when I realized that there was a part of myself that it was there deep inside darkness, let's say, in a very small room, I visited that room and I was trying, to communicate with that kid. It's kind of like an inner child practice in a way. So I did so many things. I tried so many things to listen to him, to hug him, to love him, to this, to that, so many things. So, and in a way, nothing worked. It worked for a little while, but it didn't work. So the last thing that I did was that I promised to the kid that I will stay inside this room until we both find a solution. So because, like I said, I meditated, I sent him love, I hugged him, I cried with him, everything. So I stopped that thing at that point. So I gave that promise. So after a while, I did a meditation, and the image of that kid came to my mind. And I said, like, whoa, what happened? Last time I promised him that I will stay with him. So I visited the room and I realized that I was there. I kept my promise. So I said, like, what else can I do? So what I did in my mind with the inner child is that we hold hands and we both said a prayer. Like the Orthodox prayer, like I don't know, like I know it in Greek, but I don't know in English. Like the Father, like what's the very basic prayer that we do in Christianity?
I think like what's it in Christianity, the Lord's Prayer, like uh, strength to something, the
Exactly.
things that change and don't change, and something like that. Is that the one?
There is a prayer. There is I don't like I'll find it. I'll find it. Maybe I'll bring my phone and I find it. But basically, I said that prayer that it is written, I think, also in the Bible.
How did you decide on that
And
one?
what I don't know, because there was nothing else to do. And at the same time, that prayer was given from Jesus Christ himself. It's the only prayer that basically it's not like just nice words, divine words, or words that have to do with God that a person, a human being created, but it is a prayer that basically Jesus Christ used and it is recorded. So, in a way, it's the strongest prayer we have in Orthodox Christianity. So, I said, like, let's try it. So, I was holding hands with my inner child. We said the prayer, and basically, kind of like the kid, like, became like an angel. And the room disappeared, and boom, he was gone. So whenever I was revisiting the room, he was never there. Kind of like he became free of all the guilt that he had from, the things that he has done and all his sins. So because it worked so nice, then I start being more open because I said like, wow, I had this thing that I couldn't solve for so many fucking years. And just by saying a prayer and boom, it's done. So then I started experimenting more with prayer and using it in, many, many, many things. Yeah.
That's beautiful. What does Okay, I guess I just want to point out a couple of things. There is a type of mindset with people who get into a secularist type of meditation that is very anti-religion of any kind, anti-prayer, anti-everything other than awareness, essentially. And even in the presence of so much practice, we can still find ourselves at a standstill when it comes to allowing the change that needs to occur, to essentially take our foot off the leaves so the wind can blow them. And it's so interesting that where so many people end up, whether they've been doing, I mean, I've heard of people who've been Taoist priests, deep Buddhistic meditators for 25, 30 years. And at a point decide to essentially convert to almost a Christian-esque type of ethos. And what they often say is, well, it's about love. Right, that's underneath everything. It's about love. So this is the easiest container, is to switch over to the Jesus-y type of space. And I mean, Greece has an incredibly powerful Christian history, and there's, I mean, the Meteora Mountains, these churches, just a tremendous amount of Christian mysticism and magic inside of that tradition. Now, in relation to this experience with this inner child that was imprisoned, what is it? I don't know if you have an answer to this, but what do you think it is about the prayer component as you've begun to explore it that allowed such a profound effect so quickly to occur?
I think it had to do with a subconscious, but I will say even deeper, unconscious decision of mine, like a contract, I will say. I made a promise to myself that because my mission, one of my missions, but basically my basic mission was to reconnect with God. I made a promise not to achieve any healing until I reconnect with God. So in a way, that's why I was always close, but never doing it. Like that kept me changing my methods again and again, again and again, again and again, until I reached a limit that basically I did everything that it is inside this mind. I don't have any idea. I was aware of my body, my energy, my thoughts, my emotions, the outside, the inside, the heat, the cold, everything. Like, I don't have any other idea. So I realized that basically there is an element that basically I don't know. So I asked for the help of God at that point, and it was immediate. So I will say that basically that's what I like subconsciously, that's what I wanted from the beginning. I wanted to fail so I can try different methods, so I can find the method that basically makes me happier than the other methods. And this could sound that like, so now you don't meditate? No, I didn't say that. I will just say that meditation, yin type, yang type, uh, hypnotherapy, like mindfulness, prayer, are tools. So there are different types of work. So in different type of work, you need different type of methods. Of course, you are trying to find a technique. Like at the end of the day, you're trying something to find a tool that you can use it with your hand, and it's easy, and you have a hold of it, and you control it. But when you are using all the tools that you have, and it is in a way a different type of situation that you want to solve, and you have tried everything, all types of meditations, you used all the information that you know. I think that's the best time to ask for help. And I will add that it's not also about love, but it's also about intelligence. So we know that we haven't created like the universe. It's kind of like obvious that it is super harmonious, super complicated, super balanced, super detailed. Like there are like everything is so extreme, and there is. It's obvious that there is an intelligent universe. So there is more intelligence outside of our minds than it is inside of our minds. So like I think it is clever to ask for help, something that it is out there and it is far more intelligent than ourselves.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it almost makes it a prerequisite at that point to have exhausted your options. Um, because you are like, it's like you've done all the things, and I mean, in a sense, you've I don't know if this is the right way to describe it, but you've proved your tenacity, and you've opened up all these tendrils of your mind through active exploration. And then you hit this point, and it's almost necessary because it creates a humbling, which is like we could look at, humility as a vacuum, or like a big space or a bowl that creates space. And like you said, there's all this, whether it's just static from the day, checking your phone, this, that, the other thing, we're full of all this stuff. And then when it comes to a lower level of the egocentric perspective, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I tried this, blah, 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 blah. Uh, we have to, almost through circumstance, force a humility. And it happens like at us and to us through trying all these things. And you reach a point where we go like, well, fuck, I, I guess I can't do it. And it's almost a necessary prerequisite to create that vacuum of humility, which then seems to open the door to that something on the other side, that spiritual something that is beyond all of the spiritual, quote unquote, spiritual, like exercises. Like, okay, I'm doing this chakra exercise. I'm going to move the energy this way. I'm going to watch for the source of all activity and thoughts, all of this stuff in any type of meditative spectrum and health spectrum. And it cracks the door, or it breaks us through essentially the akasha, that humility just boom, hits you, bang. And there's something to it which seems to allow for, from a Taoist perspective, that Wuji void to open up. And once that void opens up, it's from within and beyond that. It's that Wuji becomes a bridge, right? As well as the landscape below and on the other side, through which this other type of information starts to pass through. And man, it is something else. Uh, I could never. It's funny because if you haven't experienced that, you go, okay, well, that part that's trying to do everything goes, oh, you know what? Okay, yeah, I can just do that. I'll just do the surrender thing, and it becomes one more thing in your bag of tricks. But then we're still not actually doing the thing, so it's just one more thing in the bag of tricks. So I think it's really beautiful how you sort of describe that with this accumulation of failure, more or less, right?
and and to be honest, at the same time, was a subconsciously like let's say we do all these things consciously, and I do this and I do that. Basically, like our intention is that I want to save myself. I don't want anyone else to help me. I don't need help. I can save myself. So the prayer is completely different. Is accepting that you cannot save yourself 100%. You can save yourself 99%, but there is 1% that you cannot save yourself. So you have to surrender, you have to be humble, and you have to ask for forgiveness, not about the sin, that but basically it's like for not knowing. Basically, you ask for information that you didn't know at the time, and you haven't got also at the time. So you ask for help, and you ask for God to save you. You surrender. You say, like, you know what? Yeah, I need help. I need help. And I think if we have like ourselves, it's like 100%. I think we can save ourselves like 99%, but 1%, I don't think so. Like I think it's basically a need. Like if you didn't have this 1%, you will think that basically you are the one to save yourself, and basically you are the one that has all the answers. You have all the information. You don't need anyone else. All the human beings and everyone that you see, and all, like, forget, let's say, the entities, but everyone that you see, like, you don't need them. You are independent. uh, but I think it's a huge lesson to understand that you are fully dependent. Like we are dependent from everything all the time, like air, water, food, the people that provide the water, the people that they provide the food. We are dependent. And this 1% gives you the chance also to ask for help outside of yourself. And when you get it, and in the way that you get it, it's very obvious that, like, wow, seriously, someone helped me. It's very obvious. I tried like 30 years and I couldn't make it. And now it's done. I don't know how, but it's done. So in a way, it's a way to prove, it's a proof that all these entities exist and basically are there to support you, to help you, to guide you, to forgive you, to love you, etc.
Mm, yeah. So, okay. There's a part that you sort of You
I
mentioned
hope you are recording.
it is recording. It's recording. That was great. I hope it picks up your audio this
I don't
time.
know, like, see,
We tested it. It's good.
but it's
Um,
okay. I love our conversations, man. I
there
love
is there
our
is something
conversations.
that you mentioned which I know rings true for me. Um, and so I want to illuminate it a little bit, which is this part of ourselves, maybe subconscious, something that won't that's been waiting for this transition, right? So there's an aspect of healing that is we allow ourselves to do so, right? An aspect of spiritual expression, dissolution, and growth that is because we're allowing ourselves to do so. And I found that something that can definitely be detracting, say, from the health front is that there's some deep seated part. Maybe it's that 1% that almost has to be there as that, connection point to the infinite. This part that goes, okay, if you were to be whole or healed, or not in any physiological distress, would you still be in pursuit of this cosmic unity, this connection? And it becomes these injuries, so to speak, whether it's of the mind, of the emotions, of the body, existentially, they become a platform that, or just a constant, like, hey, hey, there's something else. Hey. And so the subconscious is almost a part of myself, I could say, is sabotaging myself in order to keep me on track in relation to this relationship with divinity or light or cosmic union. And in the absence of those particular densities, blockages, maybe there'd be no impetus, no need, no passion towards uncovering this, no curiosity towards moving forward on that path. And also, I think if I'm sensing into a definite point of pride that I think I really want it to be a connection and union with everything that is the ultimate salvation or healing. Like, there's a part of me that really wants that, which
Of course.
also there's a part of me that just wants to be like healthy and whole and all that stuff right now in the absence of that, but a much deeper part, a much deeper yearning that's looking for, maybe it's a recognition that that might actually be the only way, or maybe it's a like lower level, more egoistic side that wants it to be that way. But there's something there. And so I don't know, when you think back on your own like issues, I suppose, and we look at how those have prompted, the exploration, prompted the curiosity. Um, do you think there's? Do you think it's a necessity? Like I don't know
A
anyone
necessity.
who's hasn't who's reached very high like pinnacles of this spiritual growth, that's hasn't had a lot of shit go on, whether it's directly with the health or psychological or emotional impositions and all kinds of weird childhood whatever's. Like, it's almost seems like the pain is a breeding ground, or the sickness is a breeding ground for spiritual union. Like, does that ring true for you?
100%. I think it creates a need, a motive, like keeps you going. I think it's the necessity. I think the necessity creates a necessity to do something, to try new things, and to ask for help, to use whatever you have. And at the end, when you don't have, you ask for, like tools outside of your body, like the prayer. And I don't think that I would have done 99% or 90%, let's say, of the things that I've done if there wasn't this necessity that, I have to fix this. I have this problem. Like, yeah, I should try this. I should try that. I wouldn't have all this spectrum of information if there was no problem. But at the same time, I realized that life shouldn't be like just a problem that needs to be solved. It has also other perspectives, like a game. It will be nice to see a life as a game that basically kind of like you are just trying to find the solution so you can go to the next stage. And you know that there is a next stage, and again, you don't know, it's a new stage, you don't know what's what, you're trying this, you're trying that, you're figuring things out, and at some point you see the exit, boom, you go to the next level. So I totally agree with you that we need this necessity, and in a way, it's a point that where like awareness comes handy. In a way, understanding yourself better, that am I creating problems to myself because I am identified now as a victim, because pain and illness and weakness became my identity, or this is a chance so I can become stronger or communicate with entity outside of myself that is more intelligent, and I will learn some stuff and become better,
Uh,
something like that.
yeah. I mean, the everything is a thing. The thing to the next thing, right? So you have that
Yes.
platform, and then that phasic evolution as it shifts, and we're constantly upping the ante on that and shifting. There is a well, I forgot. It was in my head. Now it's gone. Um,
It's okay.
it's all good. It's all good. Do you think you might like to share an example of something that you're exploring with currently that's exciting you in the realm of this surrender and prayer, a type of practice that people might be able to engage in? If it's energetic, maybe folks would need an energetic background to tap into it. But I think even just listening and
My
being present for it might help.
my techniques are always simple. I'm a little bit lazy. I don't like complicated stuff. I like first principle stuff. So what I am experimenting right now is basically, and we talked about it, kind of everyone, for people that they believe in something, in higher entities that most of the times have names, but there is also like, God that doesn't have a name. And what I am experimenting is basically just mentioning like the name of an archangel, and then saying the words that basically are describing something that needs to be connected with the light, something that needs to be transformed, to be healed. Let's say if I have a stiffness somewhere, I will say, let's say, like, I don't know, let's say like my lower back, and say like, my God, my lower back. And most of the times I am experiencing a change and I'm just following it, following. Then I'm switching to awareness in a way, Vipassana mode. And if the changes stop, I will say it again. Or most of the times what I'm doing is I will try to connect my 7 chakras with God. Let's say like, I'll say with like my God, my 7th chakra. And I'll just feel it. And then I will switch to the 6th, to the 5th with the same way. Let's say, my God, my 6th chakra. I don't know if you felt any of this.
Yes,
How was it?
it's
Did you
very,
had any?
yeah. I quite like it. And I mean, as you're saying, you could insert the name of an archangel or a particular deity. Um, this aspect of surrendering into a unity with something, and so like surrendering the crown chakra into a universal light, or surrendering, the sixth chakra or any of them, your throat, whatever it is. And what I really like about it is that um, there's a reorganization that takes place, and
Exactly.
from within that, uh, w- we're not just popping the balloon. There's an actual shift and change that's occurring, and I feel like as the length of time goes on, that space, that evolution can keep occurring, and it provides a platform for a very easy type of practice where you can connect up and run through, say, that particular energy through each of the chakras. Maybe if you were in a time limit, you could set a timer or something, or do a specific number of breaths. But if you don't have a limit, you can just go through and take your time as long as it's needed. And you start to feel that breaking away. And what I like about it is that the freedom is not a collapsing type of emptying. It's a liberative surrendering of the barriers, we could say.
It is. It is.
So I
It
really
is.
like that.
And I don't know. Like we could experiment with like something that you believe in. Let's. I don't know, like divine light, or let's say like, would you like to experiment with like I said, my God, you could we could say like, you know, what what is something that you believe that exists, outside of yourself,
Mm.
that we could connect our seventh, our fifth, our fifth, because we did like seventh, sixth,
Ah,
like
okay.
let's do like something with the fifth.
So I like to do a lot of relationships through nature, both like what's present here as well as that reflects somewhat
Okay,
cosmically. So
even
from the say an intelligence of the air element
so
through
yes,
light, So, as understood through the paradigm of the sun, and allowing for recognition, any recognition that comes through that in relation to the transience, the movement, the understanding, intelligence of the air, that which bridges and lies in between areas of transition. And through this relationship with the air, can connect through under the guidance of the intelligence, life force of the sun, to the air, the harmonies of the heart center. And in this, we can look at the symbiotic breath, the life of the greens in nature, invigorated, enlivened through the light of the sun. The exhalation of the human is the inhalation of the plant kingdom. And the exhalation of the plant kingdom is the inhalation of the human and the animal kingdom. And the particular relationship of the purity of the breath, that harmony, and the relationship into the physical through the photosynthetic processes, energy of the sun converted in, through, and to. Okay, very nice.
Too hot.
Say again.
Whew.
Having a hot
I
flash?
became warm.
Yeah,
Yep.
open. So, I mean, two examples there, from you, from me. So I really love the.
There is also, I also have like another example, different kind of experiment that I'm doing, and basically asking myself, what do I want right now in this moment? But there is a but. The answer has to be sincere. Like when you answer, it has to be like, there are like some people, let's say like, like, what do you want right now? And they will say like, like a Ferrari. They want $1 million. But basically, in a way to connect it with something that you said, you don't need the Ferrari at that point. You need something else. So I think it starts with like some awareness. You have to, in a way, understand when you ask, it's kind of like basically saying what you need right now. And your need could be, let's say, I feel a little bit stressed right now. So what do I want right now? I want right now to feel my stress a little bit reduced. I would like, I want to feel a reduction in my stress. So just by saying what you want, what I have experienced is that if it's true, it's changing. It's happening. Even 1%, but it's happening. If you ask, if you really say to the universe what you want at that moment, you get it. And let's say like I can try it. I don't know. Like I'll try it now, just to like ask like, what do I want right now? In a way, instantly I said, I want right now to feel lighter. And for at least like 5 seconds, it was a big difference. And it's still going, most probably because you are here also meditating. So there is like your intention too. But at least I definitely felt that I was going up,
Mm-hmm.
say for 5 seconds, and it was like obvious, like a big change. I don't know, like what you felt.
Oh, the first of fullness, right? An inflation of fullness, then the upward movement of the energy, and then my heart went and little flutter. So that was fun. Yeah,
Would you like do an experiment with that too? Like you
sure.
ask yourself, what do you want right now, and say like I want right now, etc. Whatever you want.
Sounds fun. It seems like one of the delineations there is that it's done from a place of prayer or surrender. That question is on the other side of that bridge. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
it is
Let's
a little bit.
a little bit. Okay. Let's find out. Okay. So, what do I want right now? I need right now. So, what's coming through from an energetic perspective for me is an easing off of the reaching out into the energy. And so there's a strong centering and sinking into center that's occurring. And I know if I read into this a little bit, there's It's helping with a different type of centeredness and connection in relation to this podcasting conversation, but also, I smashed my head into a tree yesterday, so that's a lot of frenetic mind stuff with concussion.
Okay.
So definitely a very strong settling, sinking in, grounding. What are you getting through that?
Yeah, I got like a sensation on my second chakra. Even when you were saying the grounding, kind of like holding me, gently down, like centering. At the beginning, when you were asking, I had kind of like a woo, like a lot of energy, kind of like it's kind of like you woke up a lot of energy.
I think that's like the reaching out to ask part, you know?
Yeah, just by asking. That's what I basically the experiments have to do with words. So whenever we say a word, we subconsciously or unconsciously, because we don't see, we create an image. And at the same time, just when we are saying the word, we are connected with that thing. And basically, all the experiments are using words like God, are the names of archangels, like elements, and the place that I want to feel a change or an emotion that I want to be reduced or increased. And the second part is basically I play with the word want and desire in a way in this moment because I I want to experience it right now. Like I haven't experimented with saying my desires for like a different timeline, kind of like 5 minutes from now, or 10 minutes from now, or tomorrow. I'm trying to strengthen my will uh, and my awareness using the technique for the right now. Basically, the whole thing is like how many things I can get right now. Like, all the times we think that time needs to happen so we can get some things. Like, oh, like I'm stressed. I'll spend like 1 hour to relax or this and that, this is painful. Like probably the whole day I'll be like this. So I'm trying to experiment more and more like how much result can I get right now? And that's, I think, also from TCM, because a lot of times we get instant results. We put the needles and just in 30 seconds, the patient doesn't have, they don't have pain, let's say, a lot of times, like 50%, 60% of the times. You put the needles, if you put it in the right spot, the patient has no pain. So I'm kind of like trying to do the same in a way, like without needles at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's what else can it be, right? This has been one of the biggest changes probably, to the person who practices, right? Is that when we engage in all these things, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, all these practices from the perspective of doing something now for later, storing the rice now so that I can eat it in the winter. Um, that's we're creating further separation from that thing. And I mean, later is just like it's tomorrow's right now. And what's the
Exactly.
difference? The only difference is just there's this lock of the mind that's going, no, it's a clear thing, it's a different thing. And this lock of the mind, holds us in as we can release on that time scale. I found that the cause and effect have to be simultaneous, and I cannot no longer engage in anything that is now for later, because it is so in contrast to this relationship with what we're talking about. It can't exist in both ways, or at least right now it doesn't seem like it can. And I think that's really, really important, is looking at cause and effect right now. Is it effective now? And if
Exactly.
it's not, well, okay, will your relationship with the effectiveness of a certain thing grow? Yeah. As we become more familiar with something, the relationship grows. But there's still something happening right now. And this is one of the benefits of cultivating high degrees of awareness and like energy sensitivity, cultivating your clair skills and all that stuff, is that you can recognize at more and more subtle spectrums the effect that's happening now. So it's not, okay, I got this acupuncture treatment and, 2 weeks later, you know, suddenly this synchronous, all this stuff falls into place. That happens, but there is a thing that happened now in the energy, and everything else starts to cascade and flow around that, and all these subtle shifts start to occur in the synchronicity type of space. I think that's super, super important, man, that time scale. And
It is. It
it
is. It
it
is.
makes the joy of the practice in that moment so much greater, because it's not when we're doing something now for later, there's usually a lot of tension. There's an I want this thing and I don't have it. Right? You're practicing
Exactly.
not having a thing. And of course, there's like, I get the whole, mumbo, the conversation around, okay, you're wanting a thing, you're not surrendering, you're not in connection, blah, blah, blah. We're talking on the other side of that, which is you you need to integrate it. It has to be integrated in this moment. And that's such a great, great perspective of it.
And in a way, also because you know that you are asking too much, like at the same time, you accept even the failure. Like, it didn't happen like 100%, it happened 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%. You accept it. It's still like a profit, like before asking, I was at zero, so I asked, so I have like 1% more. So whatever you get, in a way, you accept it. It's not that you are asking something and you are waiting for it. You
Hmm.
are at the same time, you are asking, and whatever you get, you are grateful. I'm grateful. Like whatever I'm asking, of course, I'll be super grateful if I get like 100%. But even if I get 1%, just in 1 second, I'm still grateful. It's like, wow, like, amazing.
Mm. And a type of faith too, I think, like a type of trust or faith in that, like, okay, if you don't get
Exactly.
that thing that you think that you want right now, maybe that's actually in your best interest. And maybe whatever it is that you do
And
get right now is also in your best interest.
100%. And if I'm not getting it, because I know that I asked basically the universe, I didn't ask myself. I know that I'm not ready to get more. I'm accepting and I'm grateful for what I got in just one moment.
Mm.
I totally accept it.
And yeah, like likeness, like attracts liked. We have this saying that opposites attract. But resonance seems to attract a fair bit more. Like attracts like. And so if we practice placing ourselves in a position of dissociation with the ideals we might be moving toward, then we get more of that in our life. And we get opportunities to fight for the thing that we think that we're moving towards. But if we practice being in acceptance and gratitude with through a type of faith and trust in whatever is coming through in this moment, whatever that relationship is, whatever the interaction is, then you also are practicing getting more ease in finding and encountering that space that's in resonance with right now. and with the future right now. It is also right now. There is like a key here that we've been mentioning a bunch, which I want to shed a little light on, which is the question, the power of the question itself, right? And in some of the one of I guess the only native tradition that I explored, I don't know if it's a tradition, but they have this thing called the sacred question, and to them it is like, what does this mean? But the question itself, the what we could say, like the principle of a question in and of itself, is I think at a very deep part of the spiritual process, because of everything that a question entails, which is like it can give direction, and it opens a door, that not knowing, again, that humility. And so you mentioned when I did your, what is it that I want, and we were doing that meditation, and there was just this massive amount of energy. The question itself is limitless. There is no bounds to the question. And I think that that's a big part of its power, and that if we can avoid falling into the need to impose certainty on our answers and on our experience, that power, those doors, they remain open, and that access remains much closer to us. And that one of the big pitfalls is condensing everything into the known. This is this, that's that, this is the other thing. And if we can engage in the practice of constantly asking questions and evolving through questions, there's a lot of interesting stuff that can happen underneath that. I call it embracing the space of a question mark, or hugging the question mark, or whatever, finding comfort within the like cosmic uncertainty. And when we're tapping in through surrender and prayer to all of this stuff, it's so far beyond the logical mind's ability to put into little cookie cutter shapes and forms, that the only way to really remain in a perpetual state of growth and of connection is to accept and embrace the constant shift of the unknown. Because anything that anytime we start to impose knowns and the words and all these shapes and forms and images and all this stuff onto it, we separate ourselves from it, which is, why all of this stuff can be so weird to talk about. And you get all these, Zen sayings or whatever, try but don't try, do it but don't do it, blah, 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 do the thing but don't do the thing. This conundrum, because we're trying to talk about a thing, an experience, or a space of both perception and non-perception beyond all that stuff, in a way that isn't that thing. The same as trying to draw a three-dimensional object on a two-dimensional piece of paper. We can get kind of close, so we can get rough ideas and approximations, and this stuff keeps fractaling out. So the potency and longevity of the question, the essence of what a question there's so much inside it.
So much, and basically sometimes we don't understand that subconsciously we are always making a question. So let's say if even your sensations, let's say when you are turning your head, let's say behind you, in a way it's kind of like a question, like what's there, what's here. If I open the drawer, like what I will find. I open the door, or like I'm touching something. Even though like you have a memory a lot of times, there is still a curiosity. It's kind of like a question. You are not sure, like especially when you are touching something for the first time, or you are in a new place. Basically, you are always making a question. And also, now, as I'm talking about that, like how important it is to experience new things, because sometimes when you're doing the same thing again and again, you are predicting in a way because you have a very strong memory of, let's say, inside your house. Like when you open this, you will find this. When you open this, you will find this. So in a way, it's kind of like boring. But if you go to a new place and you open, you like instantly, in a way, subconsciously, you make a question like, what's inside here? If I open this door, what's
Mm.
inside? Like, what's underneath? So there is the question, and we said it a lot of times, has inside the word quest. Like when you do the question, it's like a beginning of a quest. You don't know, you know?
It's funny. I was
Like
just
it's
thinking
like
of the adventure, like the adventure spirit. Like I'm driving around in the van. Okay, where am I going to sleep tonight? And I mean, it's funny. Like as we're talking about it, I never related the joy of the aliveness of the adventure spirit to the unfolding of questions. So you just opened that door for
questions.
me. That's cool, man.
So because like when you have the memory and you're not doing questions, you are basically commanding. So it's kind of like an answer, a command or a suggestion. So like when there is a place inside your van, let's say, that you know what is inside, you're basically commanding your hand, kind of like open this, you will find this, get it out, put it inside the can, switch it, lift it, throw it. It's kind of like you are commanding. It's kind of like yeah, you are commanding. So there is no mystery there, and it's good to command yourself and see your limitation, like how fast and better and easier you can do things and faster. But at some point, when you reach your limitations, let's say, then you can ask yourself, like, how I can do it even faster. It's kind of like you are when you're commanding yourself, you are still inside the box and you're trying to see the limitations of the box and experience everything that has to do with the box. And when you do the questions, automatically you go outside of the box. And I think
Yeah.
it's with the question, and I think you cannot command yourself to go outside of the box. I think, like you can only go outside of the box with a question.
Well, I mean, it leads me into an interesting relationship between the question and truth, right? Or the mystery and truth. And there
Okay?
seems to be something that's like because you said you're demanding. You open the drawer, you're demanding through memory what it is. You're demanding through imposing the known on it what it will be. And we do this in friendships and relationships and all this stuff all the time. You go, oh, you're the type of person, blah, blah, blah. And, but the truth seems to be, this is a weird conundrum, but the truth seems to be more tangible in the space, if we allow the space of the unknown to remain present, right? That we can actually start to see the truth more and more and more accurately within the space of the unknown, of the question. Uh, because for that very reason, that we're not imposing an illusion of past connotations of what a thing might be. So it might even, in terms of a friendship, say, okay, if I have an idea in my head that you, Christos, is this type of person with these types of limitations and this type of past and probably this type of future. All this stuff happens at such a deep, deep level that I actually start imposing a lie on you, right? And I think that one of the greatest gifts we can give anyone, ourselves, friends, lovers, whoever, is the gift of an open future, right? Not imposing the past or the present on the future. The ability to every time, I mean, you and I do this all the time. Every time we talk, it's like, okay, who are you
Yeah,
now? Right? Like, what?
yeah,
Who's
yeah,
Christos? It's like I get to
yeah.
meet you for the first time every time we hang out. And I feel the
It's true.
same,
It's
is
true.
that I don't feel like you're trapping me in who I was when we first met. And I think that's a really big gift that we can share with people. And of course, this spreads out to like, you know, other types of truth and other types of openness of mind that allow for clearer and clearer perceptions in terms of what's coming through.
And I think it has to do with because at least we know some very basic elements of ourselves in a way that we are always experimenting and trying for better, for faster, for higher, for lighter. So we know that the last 3 months, 6 months, I'm sure that you are experimenting with something. And I know that some of that experiments were successful, at least even 1%, 2%, 5%, they were successful. At the same time, you are experimenting with teachers that have experience. So in a way, I'm expecting, that's the memory thing. I'm expecting that something changed for sure, because I also have friends that like even I'm gone, let's say in Vancouver for 1 year, I'm coming back 1 year later, and I'm asking them like, what's up? I say like, the same. So basically, like nothing happened. Like they didn't change their routine. But at least the only thing that I know from you is that like you're constantly uh, in a quest,
Pressure's on.
in a way. Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Oh man, I think that's probably a really great spot to close her off for today. I'm starting to get cold and shake here. Um,
Okay,
uh,
okay, okay.
Christos, my friend, thank you so much for coming on. Christos has agreed to be a regular guest, so I'm sure we'll see him again, and I always enjoy our chat so much. Is there anything that you want to plug? If people are in Greece and they want a session, or if you do anything online with hypnotherapy or health consultations or anything else, a website or anything?
If there are, if they are in Mykonos, they can try to find the contacts, like where I'm doing my sessions, my healing sessions, in my hotel. The hotel is called Ilio Maris. So if anyone is in Mykonos Island, they're visiting, they are tourists, or like they have friends here and they're coming, they can find the contact. They can ask for me, and they'll give me their. They will give them like my contacts, WhatsApp number, etc.
Okay, amazing. We'll put the hotel in the description and show notes and stuff.
Yeah.
And hell, I mean,
Okay.
who
Yeah.
doesn't want to take a trip to Mykonos? So, double up, go on
Exactly.
vacation, eat a bunch of really good food,
Exactly.
and get some healing done. I'll have you stay on here. I'll just close out for everyone else. Thank you guys
Okay.
for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. It's always so much fun catching up with this guy, and I thought it would be uh, just fun for folks to kind of be a fly on the wall for our usual types of conversations. If you're interested in training with me, there is links in the description. We have courses on the website in Tai Chi, Qi Gong, Q&A reference library for that videos are uploaded to, so you can check more of me out there. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Bye.